thanks for dropping in today. It's been a while since I've made a video. It has been a busy summer. My wife had some health issues and we were kind of dealing with those, and it took up a lot of time, and that has been resolved, thankfully, and we're grateful she's healing up well. I had a request in the comments of one of my videos to do a video on restringing a 12 string. I hate restringing a 12 string, but I got to do it today, and so I figured I'll just take some shots. There's some really good videos out there that show how to do it. I don't have any fancy stuff to do this. I don't have a guitar workbench, and I just set it in my lap and do it. Don't have any real fancy techniques, but I'll show you what I do, and I'll try to keep this kind of short and just kind of chop it so that you get some segments, because nothing worse, it's like watching paint dry, watching somebody change strings on a 12 string. It takes a while. Okay, first thing, I got to take the old strings off. A lot of people are like, well, you always want to keep a constant tension on your neck and everything like that. I don't do it. I take off all the strings and put new ones back on. Sometimes I'll do one side and then do the other side. Generally, I like to clean the guitar, and so that the strings just get in the way. So I'll take them off and then kind of clean everything up. So I'll show you, this is my can, my guitar can. It was like I think it was like some kind of chocolates or something that came for Christmas one year. It's full of all kinds of little tools. This is my little guitar toolkit. It works great. I had this thing for, gosh, I don't know, 20 years or so, and I got a bigger one because the other one I had was just, I got more tools and stuff. Take off the top. What I do is I usually set the top face up so I can drop the bridge pins, not drop the dridge pins, drop the bridge pins in here as I restring. So I just kind of set them out there. Some of the things that you're going to need: some little wire cutters. This is to trim the strings at the end. So you kind of set that aside here. A string crank. This string crank I have had for, oh gosh, since about 1984. This thing's 30 years old or something now, or 40 years old. It's been around for a while. As you see, it cracked once, and I actually have electrical tape holding it together around this end here. I've never used another one, and this is hung around, and when it broke, I just fixed it back together. I could get another one. Matter of fact, I bought my son one for Christmas last year, or his birthday, or something like that. And but I just still got my same one that I've had all this time. Those are the two main things that you need just to start out with. I just lay the guitar flat in my lap. Move this down where you can see the string is there, kind of prop my knee up there on this chair. So I just laid it flat in my lap. Just start at the 12th string. Get it till the string is loose, where it won't make a pitch, where it starts to unseat itself. Nice and squeaky, this 30-year-old thing. And I just go around the headstock, okay? So now I've loosened all the ones up on this side. When I get to this side, I start down here and work my way up. Why? Just because this is the closest to me, that's the farthest reach. Some people go all the way around in an oval around the thing. It doesn't really make a difference. I just start here and go up each side. All right, next step. I have the strings all loose, they don't make any sound. So now it's start taking out the bridge pins. Bridge pins, some of them come out easy, some are harder to come out. The holes, depending on the guitar, if you got a $3,000 Taylor, you can probably just pull the bridge pins out. If you have a real cheapy Yamaha or something like that, you might have to really struggle to get them out sometimes. So basically, to get them out, what I do is, the winding of the string is thicker at the bottom, down near the ball, into the string, and it will bind up by the where the bridge pin is. So I will take this, because it's loose now, and I will push this in a little bit, and you'll hear it kind of break free. Then I just pull the pin straight out. I'll just drop it off the side. Again, I'll raise up, push in, and the pin just comes nice and loose, and it comes right on out. The wound strings, the unwound strings are a little bit harder to do this with sometimes, because you don't have anything to push against to grip it with. And I'm just dropping my bridge pins in the top of my little container there. Okay, so here's a little trick. Every now and again you'll get bridge pins that will just get stuck. It's usually on the unwound strings where you really can't push in and get the thing loose. Ooh, that one just came loose, so that works great. But these two are kind of stuck. So in this case, you do not want to grab a pair of pliers or like needle nose or something and then go in there and start cranking on these, because these things are made out of either plastic, celluloid, or if you got a really nice guitar, then maybe they're made out of bone. And if you go to try and pop those things out of there, but with that, you're going to crack it or you're going to shear the top of it off, and then it's going to be stuck. So what happens, in this guitar, I have a pickup in it, so I just drop the pickup out of the hole, reach in here with my hand, just come up on the inside, find the bridge pin, and just push as I kind of wiggle the top of it. Boom, it comes out. This one here, this is the octave on my D string. It's always really tight. So what you can do in that case, take something like, let's go. Got a piece of electrical tape in my little kit here. I'm just going to stick this inside the guitar, and I'm going to put it right here underneath the bridge pin. I don't know if you can see that. And I'm just going to push up against it as I try and wiggle the top. That's just because it hurts your finger to push if it's really in there stuck. So I'm just going to reach in there like this, put this thing in there, push, and there it comes right out. Easy. So if you get a stuck bridge pin, don't panic. If I really bothered to, I would sand the bridge pin down a little bit or something, but when I take these out and put them back in, I don't put the same pin in the same hole. It's not like they're numbered or anything. So it's just a little trick that I came up with that I can just push that out from the inside if that's the case. And then I just put my pickup back in and put the strings on. Once I've got all the bridge pins off, everything's still connected up here at the top of the headstock. I'm going to raise my leg up there so you can see that. So I just come down here, take all the 12 strings that I've got like this, kind of hold them together, just unwind till they come off. No big deal there. Just watch what I call the old maids, the pointy ends of the strings that are cut off. When you pull them out, sometimes they'll spring back at you and you'll get poked. And they will jab you and give you a little prick of your skin and make you bleed all over your guitar. So they are kind of sharp. So just be careful when you do that, little safety tip. And now I've got all the strings off and everything. Now so I'm going to dust the guitar. Kind of check everything out, kind of check the frets over. This is where you can get in between the tuning machines and clean in there good. You know, it's hard to do that when the strings are on there. And they do get dusty. You go around there, clean like in the top with the pickup and stuff. Now, if I'm going to polish the guitar, you can't buy guitar polishes, but one of the things I find that really works really good is piano polish. You can buy this from Amazon or from many music stores, but you can use this piano polish and it does a really great job. That's what I use on mine. One of the things when I restring that I will usually check before putting the strings on is when I'm cleaning the headstock, I usually check what's called the bezel. That's the basically the nut and the little washer that holds your tuning machine in. These can loosen up with time and playing, and I usually just go through those and just check to make sure they're good and tight. If they need tightening, I'll get out a little wrench and tighten those down. They don't need to be real tight. Even finger tight works pretty good, but you just want to make sure they're not loose. If they're loose, you'll start getting these weird vibrations on a 12 string. That'll drive you crazy, like where's this weird little buzz come from? You'll be looking all over to see if it's your string buzzing on a fret down here and the noise is coming from up here. And it's really hard to tell because the whole body kind of resonates when you're playing. When it comes time to put your strings on, you're going to open up your package, right? So I've taken the plastic off the outside of it. The strings I'm putting on today, one of my favorites are the Ernie Ball Earthwoods. These are the bronze 12-string light. They're gauged from a 9 on the bottom up to 46 and 26 on the top. That's pretty good. That's a real comfortable gauging. Years ago, I used to use more of a medium gauge and tune way down to a D or a C sharp. But this guitar, I won't be tuning to that. I'll be tuning it either standard or a half step below standard. When you unwrap your package, this part right here that has the gauges and the orders of the gauges, you want to save this and set it aside where you can keep it and reach it and refer to it as you're restringing. what ends up happening sometimes is most manufacturers will have on the package what the string gauge is. You know, there's the 26 there, but things happen, and sometimes you'll drop and you'll knock them off and they get scattered, and it doesn't say first, second, third. Some brands do say first all the way up to the 12th string, but like in these, it doesn't. And I've dropped these before, and then you got to figure out which string pair goes with which string pair. That's when this comes in handy, because that's going to show you where the pairs are and what gauges go together to make the pairs, right? Another little tip. All right, so I lay the package face down. So I'm starting with the 26, which is my 12th string. What I do when I restring, I generally start on the bass side and work my way up. Then I flip the deck of strings over so that the first string is on the top, and then I start here and work my way to the top. Why do I do it that way instead of going all the way around? Basically, it's just a matter of space. As you're moving up here, if you string from the top down, basically you're taking up space that you need in order to get your fingers in there. And if you got fat, stubby fingers like mine, well, that just works a little easier. So I start from the bottom and work my way up on the bass side, then I start on the treble side with the bottom and work my way up. Carefully unwrap your string. Make sure you don't crimp it. If you crimp it, you're going to get some weird little, it's just not going to intonate properly once you stretch it out. Now here's a little trick I use. When you put the string down in the hole, basically you're going to have the winding. Let me come up here like this, a little bit easier. There you go. You're going to have the winding of the string, and you're going to have the bridge pin. You're going to put this in here like this, and see if I can do this so you can see it. Basically, the ball of the string sometimes will catch on the bottom of the bridge pin, and as you're tightening it pulls up and it pulls the bridge pin up with it out of the hole. Then you push it back down and you tighten up more and it comes up more. So there's a way I go about preventing that from happening. I take the ball into my string and I go down here on the wrapped part at the very bottom of the string, right before the ball, not up on the speaking part of the string that's going to be up by the bridge. I'm going to use the part that's going to be down inside the body. I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to bend that down at a little bit of an angle. It's not a sharp bend, but what it does is it's going to allow the string to go up the side of the bridge pin. I don't know if you're able to see that or not. Be able to go up the side of the bridge pin and then lock in without having to pull the bridge pin out as it does it. So I drop this into the hole, put the bridge pin. Remember, I've got that little curve in there now because I bent the winding just a little bit. So now I can pull up, you can feel it click past the end of the bridge pin, and now I can just push that straight in, and that's going to be in there really good. All right, down to this end here. I'm trying to prop my foot up so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, I got this big old long string. It's going to go to this first hole here. Here's a little thing I came up with. I think I learned this from a Martin brochure that they published back in the 70s. You need to have at least 2 wraps around the post of your tuning machine, so for just tuning stability. And so what I'm going to do to make sure I have that wrap there, I just take if I'm here flat like this, well, there's no slack. So I'm just going to take my finger, put it here, and pull back a little bit. See the angle I've got up here on the string? It raises up a couple inches. You can also do it like this. I've seen some people do it like this. They'll hold it like this with their hand and put the string into the hole, and then they'll start tightening it down. If you're going to crank with your left hand, like I'm going to do here, you can either hold it like this over your hand, so it comes up, and there's your couple of inches of slack. Pull it tight. Now start winding. You'll feel it start to pull. Now let's see if I can get this onto the hole there really good. I got to move my leg around a little bit. Okay, the top of the string is going to want to go underneath the speaking part of the string. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise it up a little bit. I'm going to go around until I get a good crimp in the string, and then I'm keeping tension on the string the whole time with my hand here. I'm not letting the string flop around. Once it comes around, I've got one full winding. I'm going to take this string and I'm going to pull straight up. Make a sharp little angle there and pull that straight up. That string won't slip for anything. There are some pretty complicated ways of going in there and making a little V-shaped little thing to lock it in. Martin puts that on their guitars, and I think Taylor does too. A lot of luthiers use that. I've tried that, and I found that really that's not necessary. Once you get a full winding around the string there, you just pull that up and just kind of notch it. You'll feel it lock in. Then you can just tighten that the rest of the way on down. Now, I've got enough tension on there. I'm still holding the tension on my string, but it's tight enough that I got to move my hand out. Now, I'm just going to pull it up to the point that the string makes a tone. I'm not going to tune it to pitch. There's no point in doing that yet. And I'm going to follow this process for all the 6 strings on this side, and then start on the other. All right, here's the 11th string is going on. This is a heavier string. You can see the winding is more substantial here. Here's my bridge pin. I'm going to come up here just to the end of the winding, just that last little 1/8 of an inch or so. I'm going to bend it down. So see the bend in there now? When I insert this into the hole, basically there's the notch in the bridge pin. It's going to, instead of getting stuck on the bottom, it's going to come up and sit in there like that. Pop it in, push down, I pull up on the string, boom, it's in there and it's going to stay put. Now a little safety tip. I have strung all the ones on the bass side here, and notice I've got like the string ends just kind of hanging out here. You might be tempted at this point to go ahead and trim those down, but I leave them out there until I'm completely finished. The reason for it is when you're stringing these, if you lay your hand on top of the tuners, you might poke your hand on top of the sharp ends of the strings that are sticking out from the tuners, and you can cut yourself or poke yourself. I've done that a bunch. I've been playing 12 string for what, 40 plus years. I've had things like that happen. So I just leave the old made ends here just kind of hanging off until I get all 12 strings on, then I trim it off. Okay, so now I'm starting on the treble side of the strings. So I'm going to take my deck of strings. It's been laying face down with the 9, the first string, on the bottom because I've been doing the bass side. So now I'm going to flip it over and go in that order, and that's going to give me from 6 up to, from the first string up to the 6th on this side. So hang tight. Now, what are some of the problems that you might run into when you're restringing the 12 string? Well, if you have a slotted headstock rather than one that's solid like this, this method doesn't work for you well, and they're really hard to restring. With those, they're kind of a pain in the butt, and I've had the 12 string that had a slotted headstock. It was a nice Yamaha, like an F512, rosewood back and sides, mahogany neck. It's a beautiful playing and sounding guitar, but restringing it was a major pain. Another thing you might do, you have to be present in the moment, not be too distracted watching TV or talking to other people. Make sure that you're going in order down the headstocks. It's easy to skip one and then end up, oh crap, and then you've got the wrong string in the wrong place and it's now crimped where it came in contact with the headstock and you tuned it up. So you always want to make sure you're going sequentially through them. Another weird issue I had one time is I had a string, I was feeding it through one of the pegs, and as you're feeding it through, well, there's this little end of it that's going to kind of keep on going without eyeballing it real good. And this is just really just weird, is that when I pushed it through, the string went in a straight line and went right into the next string behind it. Through the hole. So I pushed it through this hole and it went through the machine, and this side through the hole there. So I had the string through 2 different holes. When I started tuning it up, it was like, hey, what's going on here? Something weird's happening. then I realized what I had done and had to kind of loosen the string and then take it back out. So you want to make sure that you're doing things sequentially, and after you feed, and on this end too, make sure you put the string in the right hole. You want to make sure you just go sequentially, and they're offset. They're like, there's one in front, one in back, one in front, one in back. And generally on most 12 strings, starting with the 12th string, it's the one that's set back. So it's 12, 11, 10, 9. If you have a guild 12 string, these are reversed. The break angle is different going across the strings because the heavier string, the lower octave, is the one that is set back a bit. So you need to be mindful of that. If you have a guild, it's a little bit different, but you have to pay attention to those kind of details when you're restringing a 12 string. Now when I'm tuning this treble side, you have to be conscious that the tuners now work the other way. And so when you are attaching your string here, you're going to be turning the opposite direction so that the string feeds up through the middle of the peg. So on the bass side of the guitar, they're all coming up on the right side and rotating around the knob of the tuning machine. On the treble side, they curve and go around to your left side. One other thing you want to be conscious of is when you're putting these in, one of the reasons why I do these individually and not as pairs is it's easy to get them crossed over, and then you make like an X where the strings then cross over each other. I've had that happen before. Trying to be efficient, do 2 at a time. It's easy to do. So always just do 1 string at a time. Okay, so now I have all 12 strings on the guitar. They are tuned up so they make a note, but it's not tuned in any way, shape, or form. But there's enough tension on here now that if I go ahead and snip the strings with my wire cutters, I don't have to worry about slippage. So I can just take those off. And I just basically come in contact with the top of the head and snip off the remainder there. Notice with the wire clippers, I'm pointing them upward, not downward. The strings get pretty tight in here, and I'm coming at it from the outside. If I come in straight in or from the top, it's easy to cut one of the strings that's going to another tuning machine. Nothing like getting a brand new pair of strings and like, oh crap, I just cut one of my strings, one of my new strings, and I go back to the music store and hope they have that gauge in their supply of singles. So you just come in there, angle up, Now start from the other side. Again, make sure I've got the flat side of the pliers down so I can get right next to the tuning pin. Angle up. Angle up. All right, now we're ready to tune this baby up. All right. Okay, so I'm going to tune up now. I'm ready for tuning, but I'm not going to sit here and tune and have you watch me tune it. There's nothing more boring than watching somebody tune up a 12 string. But I want to talk about the process a little bit because this is kind of important to understand. As you tune up a 12 string, this is a lot of tension. This is like what? Like 227 pounds of tension, depending on the brand of strings that you buy and if you tune up to concert pitch or not. One of the things that as you tune up, the neck is going to wobble just a little. It's going to flex, not really wobble. I mean, the neck joint is good and stable, but the wood is going to flex just a little bit from side to side and forward as you're tuning. And so if you get, like, say if I tune this to an E over here, when I get across tuning all the rest of the strings, that string is going to be flat. Why? It's because the neck pulled forward just a little bit and shifted a little bit while I was tuning. Plus the strings have to stretch in just a wee little bit. So as it's shifting back and forth, I don't worry about the pitch staying stable right there at that point. So what I will normally do is, just for demonstration, I did this top octave, but normally I will do the lower pairs first. So there's an E on my low E string. Now I'm going to go to this side, the treble side, and tune up to an E. And you're hearing it sound a little dead there just because the neck hasn't shifted into full up position there. So now my two outside pairs. Now I'm going to go to the next two pairs and then the middle pairs. Reason I do that is I'm balancing out the neck. It's stabilizing on both sides. If I try to go all the way across, the bass strings are going to pull the neck this way, and the treble strings are going to pull it back, and it's going to be this tug of war. So I basically work from the outside pairs up to the middle pair and then the inside pairs. So I'll tune the E strings, the A and the B, the D and the G. The last string I tune will be the octave of the 6th string. Why? Because that's the one that you're taking that 9 or 10 or whatever your 12th string is gauged for that particular octave on that G string. That's a really high pitch for that string. A 9 or a 10 is designed to be the E string of an electric guitar set. On a 12 string, you're cranking that thing up a minor third higher. And so that's quite a bit of tension on that string. So when I tune that one, I want the neck to be as stable as possible so it doesn't flex back and forth and put any undue stress on that string. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and tune, and I'll check back in a minute. Last of all, here we go. Nice and in tune. I've tuned with the tuner. You always want to fine tune after using your tuner. As good as a tuner is, it never does get a 12 string perfectly in tune. What you have to do is you have to go back and check your octave strings with other strings. So let's say I'm going to check my high G octave with a G string down here. Those should be the same pitch. Now I'm going to go up to the 3rd fret, the 2nd string. That's a D. That should match the octave on my top string on my D string. Now I'm going to play an A, 2nd fret on the 3rd string. That should match my open 5th string octave. And if I go up to the E on the 4th string, 2nd fret, that should match my octave. Those, if they're out a little bit, you'll hear it when you play. Your chords won't sound right. And we're tuned. All right, that wraps it up. If you have any questions, comments, slap them in the comments slot below. If you have ideas for future videos, I always appreciate input from the viewers. Please like, subscribe, and share. Getting really close to 1,000 subscribers. That's what I'm really pushing for. Hope that you guys find this useful. If you have run into problems on something like that, just put something in the comments, and I try to respond to all the comments I get. I don't get that many of them, so it's not that hard to do. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you around next time.